Hi, I'm Ashley with the Essential Healing Collective. I'm going to go over with you the basics of downward facing dog and a couple different modifications. So the first is the most basic. So with downward facing dog, which is one of the most common inversions that you'll see in yoga, starting off in your tabletop position, and that's just to give you some measurements. So your knees are about hips distance, your palms are shoulders distance. So from underneath your shoulders, if everything is stacked, if you walk your hands about 6 inches, maybe a hand's length forward, and then spread your fingers nice and wide. Before you even lift up into that upside down V, press into the palms, so micro bend in those elbows, but tuck those armpits in towards each other, pull the belly in. As you're pressing the mat away, neck is nice and long, curl those toes under, and then lift the hips. So depending on your own anatomy, you may need to widen those shoulders, but again, scoop those armpits under, press the mat away, and then maybe pedal those feet as you start to get into this movement. So different yogis, different teachers will tell you different things. The most important is to always listen to your body. So I like to have my feet hips distance apart. Some folks like to have them a little bit wider, some a little bit more narrow. Pressing into those palms, if your wrists are giving you feedback, meaning it's a little uncomfortable, you can try spreading the fingers and twisting those wrists so that your pointer finger is facing, your index finger is facing forward, the rest of those fingers are pointing slightly off the mat. And that may help to give you a little bit of relief on those wrists. It just kind of depends. The next thing is, where does the neck go and what's happening in the heart space? So the reason that I give the cue to tuck the armpits under is it keeps the chest from collapsing. This is really rough on the shoulders and not sustainable. It's something that starts to wear on that shoulder girdle. So you want to tuck those armpits in, pull the belly in. The ears are between the arms, and your gaze is either at your calves, or really your shins, your knees, your upper thigh, somewhere in that vicinity. Your hips are moving up and back as you press the mat away. And those heels are moving towards the earth, but they don't have to touch. It's going to depend on how those hamstrings are feeling. But that is your basic downward facing dog. Now, if you have any shoulder challenges, or you're building up your shoulder stability and strength, you can utilize a table, a chair, a stool, something in front of you. So, walking those feet a little bit closer, either holding onto, you want to make sure it's something that's not going to move. Pressing into it just like we did before. So micro bend in the elbows, scoop those armpits under, and press the chair away from you. And try walking a little bit closer if that feels better. It's also a really great way to lengthen those hamstrings and root down through the ground. So you have some options when it comes to your downward facing dog. There's always a different variation made available that can be either created or found. So if there's a movement that you try or you're given in a class, whether it be mine or someone else's, and it's just not working for you, again, yoga shouldn't hurt, so particularly if it feels painful, then that means that's not the pose for you right now and maybe not ever. So look for modifications or ask for modifications from a yoga instructor. And as always, listening to your body, and if you have any health issues, talk to your medical care provider before you engage in physical activity or for some recommendations. You can always send me a message if you have questions, and I hope that this was helpful.